Boo boo. Your old pal Zoon. Doo doo. Your old pal Bob. Doo doo. It is Zoon and Bob and 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 Zoon. Your fur is acting up a little. Yeah, I had to find your comb. Sorry about that. It's all right. You can barely see it. Yeah, you can barely see it. Barely see it. Barely see it. Yes. So, Bob, what's going on? Well, first things first. I am Vincent Price, and I will protect you from looking at the screen while you're talking. Thanks, Vince. No problem. It's an important job. And I'm glad to do it. Ever since he did Thriller, he's been doing that stuff. Wow, you did that voice pretty well. You know me, I know you. I know you, Mr. Zoon. I know you, Mr. Bob. I know you, Zoon and Bob. Mr. Frog. Mr. Frog. Mr. Frog. yeah. All right, Bob. Cut the deck and give us a card of the show. A card of the show. Easy peasy. Cutting the deck. Getting it done. All right. And the card of the show is Golden Sun. Ooh, Golden Sun, huh? What's Golden Sun mean again? Golden Sun is all about light, nourishment, warmth, love, glow. So all the great things that we think about the sun is in this card. Well, it's important for all of us to live like the sun. To live like the sun. To shine our light on everyone. To shine our light on everyone. I couldn't have said it better myself. To shine a light on everyone. To shine our light just like the sun. To shine our light on everyone. To shine our light on everyone. Good job, Mr. Frog. You too, Bob. Yeah, I don't hear any weird buzzing noises or anything for me to harmonize with, so I'm able to just sing the notes that pop in my head. Super weird. Who knows? Maybe that thing is in the past. So, Bob, tell me about love. About love? Well, my understanding of it is that, there's the romantic love, when you feel that warm feeling in your lower chakras for another person. And when you are evolved enough, you allow that person to either feel or not feel those feelings for you. And if they don't, you let them go. Can I go on an aside here just real quick? Sure. I don't understand creepy dudes. What? There's a thing where dudes can be really creepy, like if they can't find a significant other. Typically they're guys who like women, straight guys. And they tend to be, stalkery and cruel and desperate. And, I know where you're going. Yeah. I just don't really understand it. And I've tried to understand it. And, I have hypotheses on this topic, but I don't really understand it at all. Like, I'm not in the best scenario, life circumstance wise, certainly not the worst. Many people have it much worse than I do. And those people who have it much worse than I do, many of them have no struggles, uh, dating and mating and all that stuff. Dating and mating? Yeah, sorry, it's just what popped in my head. So why do the creepy dudes struggle with this? Bob? Yeah. It's a lot of different things. A lot of different things. Uh-huh. For some people, it's lingering traumas in their family situation. Ooh, lingering traumas in their family situation. And for some people, it's broken self-esteem. Broken self-esteem, what does that mean? It means that their ability to think positively is just kaput. But that's not permanent. There's no way that can be permanent. I don't believe that anything like that's permanent. Typically it's not, but sometimes it might be. Oh. Oh, I see what you mean. Kind of like the difference between what we consider a sociopath and a psychopath. Like they can exhibit similar symptoms and have similar challenges in their lives and pose similar challenges for the people in their lives. But where the psychopaths, it's most likely genetic, and sociopaths, it's most likely not. Right. So you're saying that some creepy dudes just have a genetic condition and they can't help it. Right. And then some creepy dudes, it's a broken automatic response to trauma, right? Like you've said before. Yes. But it could be a different type of trauma and a different type of response. Right. So if it's a different type of trauma or a different type of response, then how do people handle it? Like, I guess what I'm trying to ask is how can you help creepy dudes to not be creepy without being cruel to them? Because, if we could help them learn to not be creepy, then they wouldn't be abusive toward other people, right? In theory, but how could you know? How could you know? Bob? Yeah. I like your instinct here. What's that? Your instinct is to approach it with love. Not relationship love, but the other kind, or one of the other kinds, I suppose, since there's probably not just two. I doubt that it's a duality. I'm sure it's a spectrum of love, and it's probably a 4D spectrum, different axes and maybe even more than 4 dimensions now that I'm thinking about it. I mean, if you think about it like a grid, or not even a grid, but like a multi-dimensional table in like programming, right? We have different types of buckets holding different types of buckets and then more buckets. Yeah. You probably have no idea what I'm talking about. I have no clue. But it sounds right. Sounds right. Yeah. I just wanted to go back. Your instinct to show love and compassion for people who are, considered disgusting and awful. Yes. That's very noble, Bob. Huh. But you have to stay safe and keep other people safe too. I know, but you've said yourself safety is not the number one priority. No. It's not number one, but it is important. I mean, I guess you don't want to foist dangerous creeps onto your friends and family because you're trying to help the creeps and you end up hurting your family. Right. That's sounds reasonable, I suppose. How do you help the dangerous creeps? I really want to know. I'm sorry, Bob. I can't give that information out. You can't give that information out? No. Just someone who's an expert has to figure it out. And that person has to be motivated by love in a similar way. Yes. Huh. Oh, wow. I mean, it's certainly not my field. It's not something that I should feel pressure to figure out, though I do feel pressure to figure it out, Because I think in this society, I think most men in their teens are given a cultural shove towards being a creepy dude. I think that's like a cultural shove. And then some dudes, before they become creepy dudes, they grow out of it. Some dudes take a step or two on the path of becoming creepy dudes, and then they grow out of that. They go, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I got to fix this. But then some dudes take those couple of steps and just never look back, Like it certainly can't be a good thing if our society is pushing people towards being creepy dudes, or at least straight dudes. Well, why do you do the bunny ears? Yeah. Well, I think straight and not straight is a false dichotomy. I don't think that duality exists. I think we're all a little wobbly. Just, I think a lot of us are so broken and insecure that we can't admit that we're a little wobbly. What does that mean? Well, it's just, for example, like I've never found myself attracted sexually to a man, you know? But if I had, I think I would be fine with it. That feeling of being okay. The feeling of being okay. But I think a lot of people, you know, are so scared just of the feeling of being okay with it that their insecurities explode and they become kind of toxic and poisonous. I can agree with that. And I think the cultural phenomenon of people like heading towards fascism and like extremely conservative views, in response to this kind of uh, sexual identity revolution that a lot of folks are experiencing, I think that's just fear of their own potential to not be what they think of as straight. Since I think straight is just a fiction, I don't think it exists at all with anyone. But people try so hard and are so scared of not being that, that it causes them to become kind of poisonous. And their family and life experience too. Right. Right. If the family is like, you ain't going to be that way, none of my kids are whatever, I don't want to say any slurs. That's not right. But even if I'm hypothesizing, but, that ain't no son or ain't no daughter of mine going to be a whatever, I think that's really dangerous because then the people put a lot of pressure on themselves, to model themselves after their parents, maybe even unconsciously. And then when you add, other friends and school and religion and, traditional media, I mean, media is catching up and that's becoming more open, but traditionally it's still very this false binary of straight and not, which I don't really think exists. I think, we're imprinted biologically to lean in one direction, but it's just a lean. It's not a commitment, And I think there's a lot of wiggle room and wobble room in there for most people. I think that's the biological norm. You're right. Yeah. And then, then there are the psychological imprints that happen. And I think a lot of these are destructive. You're right again. How do we. Mm, Bob? Yeah. You've discovered how to re-imprint yourself, right? I have discovered how to re-imprint myself. I think the real challenge for me and other folks who've discovered how to re-imprint themselves isn't the re-imprinting process. It's recognizing the broken imprints so that we can dissolve those and replace them with fresh imprints. Bob, can you explain what we're talking about? Oh, sure. I'll explain what we're talking about. See, there was a very controversial psychologist in the 60s called, was it Dr. John Lilly? Very controversial, and he did experiments that I would consider unethical. But in his research, he did notice that all of us subconsciously, as babies and as young children, were very open and malleable and to completely subconscious or mostly unconscious psychological imprints, like codes, like our software being imprinted on us. That's why he called them imprints. Yeah. And then we tend to, because it's entirely subconscious or mostly unconscious, we don't notice them consciously. And because of the way our culture is set up, we're taught to not pay attention to those things, or that our identity is just who we are. But the reality, as he I think successfully proved, is that our identities are not who we are. Our identities are who we've convinced ourselves that we are based on our imprints. And then, later imprints, he said in his book, hypothesized and I think fully proved. Later imprints we imprint upon ourselves, sometimes through traumatic experiences, sometimes through extraordinarily strong emotional experiences, like falling in love or getting into a fight, things like that. We also have these imprints on us. Every time we ran up against fight or flight, we developed, software to deal with fight or flight in the future, which is why I think a lot of us have anxiety and depression and a bunch of other things. I don't think it, like you said before, it's not the only cause of anxiety or depression. Oh, yeah, yeah, there are a lot of causes. Yeah, a lot of causes. And some of which are biological, like you said before, like depression can just be because you hit your head as a kid and damaged part of your brain, right? Or because certain neural pathways weren't formed and need to be formed, right? Again, and there are so many other causes, but it's almost entirely not genetic. Right. Which means most depressions can be cured. There are some that are genetic, like the part of your brain that secretes serotonin can just be broken or not functioning. I've heard about that. Now, I mean, I have my own hypotheses about how to structurally repair that, but I don't know since it's not my problem. You know what I mean? And I'm not a research scientist, I'm not a biologist, so I don't know how to approach that, at least not in a scientific way. Like, if it were my problem, I would experiment with some of my ideas. But anyway, I'm getting off track. Re-imprinting, right. Is there anything you would like to add that you can tell us about, about the re-imprinting process? You know, I think the most important thing, as you touched on this earlier, Bob, the most important thing is to notice whenever your thoughts pop into your brain automatically without you really consciously noticing. You need to notice that and develop the habit of noticing it. Develop the habit of noticing it. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say practice meditation and practice paying attention to your thoughts and noticing. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Being as conscious as you possibly can. Ah. Because then you'll notice the automatic programs. Right. And then you'll be able to consciously evaluate the programs and possibly dissolve them and replace them with other programs. Correctamundo. And how do you re-imprint? You can re-imprint in meditation or lots of other ways, such as replacing a strong emotional imprint with a new strong emotional imprint. Oh man, this is so complicated. I wonder if there's anyone even listening to this. No, I don't think so. But we get views on these later, so I'm sure someone's going to listen to this later once they get home from work or whatnot. That sounds really complicated. Oh, it's super easy, Bob. You said you did it yourself, right? I did do it myself. I did do this myself because I've noticed, and you suggested doing this before, and I had done this in the past, was where I would think something, and then I just immediately ask myself, oh, why am I thinking that? What's the root of this thought? And I've tried to do it with, especially with negative or self-defeating, dark, painful thoughts and feelings, self-sabotaging thoughts and feelings. But I've also done it with when really nice thoughts and feelings automatically pop in. I'm like, well, where did that nice thought come from? Very good. Yeah. And as you've said, and I've said in the past, keeping a notebook, and every time that you notice these automatic thoughts and feelings and you examine them, write them in your notebook. Because it's hard to keep track of everything, Like if you constantly have a thought of, say, I'm just not good enough. Well, where did that come from, right? And every time you think it, write it down. And then ask yourself, where did I get the idea that I'm not good enough? Where are my first memories of not being good enough? Where might that thought have come from? What might have happened, to cause me to think that way? Very good. And the methods that I use to re-imprint myself are things I can't really talk about on this show. I think it's a bit too controversial. But meditation certainly helped. And it was certainly a huge part of the re-imprinting process for me. Can I backtrack? You want to backtrack? Yeah. Your instinct to want to re-imprint yourself, where does that come from? Love, for sure. And it's weird because consciously, for many years, I would say most of my life, I struggled to love myself. And recently, within the past 3, 4 years, I've really learned how to love myself. And there are days that I struggle and weeks that I struggle, and I don't mean love like trying to get attention or trying to prove myself or thinking that I'm great or whatever. I don't mean that. I just mean that second love, that unconditional, like, being kind to myself automatically because I love myself as, in that way, unconditionally. Great. And I know that I've had to dissolve traumas and programs around that love. And I know I've had to reprogram myself around that love. Yes. And you've helped me a lot over these past, what, 4 years? Gosh, you've helped me so much with my reprogramming. Oh, Bob, you're embarrassing me. Well, you have. You've really given me a lot of guidance on this. And I suspect you're giving the folks at home a lot of guidance on this. Me too, Zoon. Oh, thanks, Mr. Frog. So, yeah. Golden sun. Golden sun. Golden sun. Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at, I wish I had more to say on this topic. Something I was thinking about earlier, it's on a slightly different topic. Okay. I was thinking about the urge to learn. Oh. Because in a couple of his books, Robert Anton Wilson talks about, and Antero Ali talks about this too, in his book Angel Tech. Uh, the idea that intelligence isn't locked in, right? That you can actually increase your intelligence. Yes, of course you can. Well, what did they suggest? Well, what they suggested was to be more curious and to judge less instead of thinking, well, this is the way it is because this person is this way and this situation is this way and this thing is like this and this thing's like that. Instead, saying, introducing the idea of uncertainty into everything. Oh, yes. You're saying just, oh, yes. Keep going. You want me to keep going? Okay. That uncertainty keeps us or helps to keep us curious, which helps to keep us smarter. Meaning, we don't really know why anyone does anything or why anything happens. We have, theories and then proof for those theories. But most of the time, those things eventually get overturned as we develop better theories with better proof. Right. And better tools to gather that proof. Right. And a better way of thinking about things so that we can better evaluate our proof and our theories and develop better hypotheses. Yes. Right. So what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So by just speaking in a way, using language in a way that we're not falsely certain, it helps to kind of fortify our brain's willingness to be elastic and to be curious. For example, and if someone's mean to me, say throws an elbow into me in the subway, I could say, "Oh, that person's a jerk. That person hit me in the elbow, and you know, how dare that person do that to me?" Right? Or I could say, "That person elbowed me, but I don't know any of the details for that. Was it on purpose? Don't know. If it was on purpose, did that person have some sort of strange trauma, or is that person, having a bad day, or did I do something to cause it and then I just was completely unaware of what I did?" I mean, there's so many possibilities, and how can I be sure, right? Give the whole situation the benefit of the doubt. Right. Or, if I think that I understand something, to accept that my understanding is almost certainly incomplete. Wow, Bob, I'm so proud of you. Thank you, Zoon. Anything to add on this topic? Yes. If you want to be more curious, practice being curious. Look at things with an open mind. Let go of all your judgments and thoughts on the topic and just pay attention to what it is as it is. Another thing that these guys, Ali and Wilson, said in their books, and then you probably agree with this, was to take time to practice seeing things from other points of view. Even if you know those points of view are broken or wrong or even damaging or destructive, just practice it just so you understand, the thoughts and feelings that went into that point of view. Like Robert Anton Wilson takes it to an extreme, like studying like people with dangerous political and religious philosophies, just so you can read what they're reading, and see how they're taught to think. And if you can see how they're taught to think, you can understand why they feel the way they do. And then if you understand why they feel the way they do, you can perhaps provide information for those folks that could possibly change their minds, or at least provide enough compassion where they don't feel that you're attacking them and instead that you're trying to help. Wow. And there's that love instinct again. That love instinct again. Yes, that love instinct, because desiring to understand someone does require um that neutral unconditional love, like seeing the species as being all connected and part of a bigger machine, and then seeing the species itself as belonging to a bigger collection of systems that involve other species, and they all connect and overlap to create one humongous, what could even be considered an organism, the planet or the solar system or the galaxy. Very good. Wow, Bob. Yeah, you're not really talking much today. Yeah, I just want to hear what you have to say on this topic. You want to hear me? Yes. So by not judging, you're able to experience the larger organism, I think, a bit more clearly. Yes. But you're saying the instinct to love is what's really guiding me on this journey? Yes, and I would say that folks need to practice unconditional love. Practice seeing and feeling the connections between everything and everyone. Practice feeling the connections. I mean, your whole thing about practice lately has been really hitting me, but I hadn't really thought about practicing experiencing the connection between people and life and objects and beings and patterns and systems. Holy cow, dude. My whole brain feels like it's going to explode. So, practice experiencing reality as a connected system, or a connected system comprised of connected systems. Holy cow, this is like a fractal system that seems to go on infinitely. Yeah, but don't overthink it. Just notice your spot and practice being better at playing your role. Ho, 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 ho. Oh, I don't even know what my role is. Good. That means you're wide open. But what about the confusion and anxiety that comes with not knowing? Remember, in the universe, almost everything is unknown and unknowable. So, practice being comfortable with that idea. Just play the role that's in front of you right now, here and now. Be present. So practice the role that you're in the moment, and don't worry about who you are. Right. Isn't it helpful to build an identity? It's helpful in the sense that, you want people to understand what you're saying. I see. So build an identity insofar as it's a structure for other people to use to enter into what you're saying, or what your art is, or my art. Oh, my identity for building a structure so other people can experience my art better. Yeah, like a door, like a door, a door. Wow. You talking about my art, this has got me thinking, and holy shit, I'm feeling really hungry all of a sudden. This has really got me thinking about my art. Someone asked me the other day about my art, I was on set for a TV show, and someone asked me, "What is your art all about?" You know, and it occurred to me, and I think about this a lot. It's really about exciting the imagination of whoever is experiencing it. Yes, and it took me a long time to come to this point of view. Well, that's the point of view of unconditional love. Oh, wanting to share and excite other people's imaginations. Right. Because, when I started, I had the idea that, oh, I want to express myself and I have all these thoughts and feelings and I want to share and it's about me and I'm making art for myself and all that, and it felt noble to think that way. And they that noble feeling made me continue to think of it that way. But then over time, I came to realize that the art that I really loved, the stuff that I think is the best of the best, the cream of the crop, really has nothing to do with what the artist thinks or feels, and everything to do with the imagination of whoever experiences it. From, Vincent Van Gogh, to David Lynch, to, Ursula Le Guin. It had nothing to do with what their thoughts and feelings are, and everything to do with the imagination of whoever is experiencing it. you know, uh, Philip Glass or whoever, like regardless of the medium, you know. And there are two schools of art that I really enjoy. One school is, where people are trying to make the space better, you know, like certain types of pottery or sculpture or architecture. It's really just about making like elevating space, and then you're in the space and participating with it. I love that. That's not really how I make art, that's not my point of view, but I enjoy it. But the other one is what I've stumbled onto in my own work, of exciting the imagination being more important than trying to say something, which doesn't matter. I think it's totally, I don't mean to be judgmental or anything like that, but I think that's bad art. I think it's just bad art. And it doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. Like, I enjoy some bad art, but as a person making art, I don't want to make bad art. I only want to make the best I possibly can, because I really want to excite other people's imaginations. Like tonight, I'm going to paint. I'm probably going to be up all night painting. But for me, it's not about any of my thoughts or feelings or whatever. It's really is about giving other people something to imagine, to play with in their own imaginations. To me, that's everything in art, or at least in the type one of the two types of art that I enjoy, and the one type that I really enjoy making. That's good. That's because of your whole your unconditional love like compass that you have, Bob. And I've worked on that. You have. I'm sliding down this chair. I want to see. Am I even still on camera? Okay, I am, but I'm sliding out of the seat. What do you think about this? I think you need to judge other people's art less and other people's points of view less, and talk more about how you feel about your art being a tool for other people to unlock their imaginations. If you think that's the most important thing, use that as your structure to share your art with other people. That's your door, Bob. Make that your bio. That's my door. Make it my bio. You're a wise alien, Zoon. Thanks. Well, I think we're out of time. We covered some very interesting topics today. It was mostly Bob talking. Sorry about that. Well, you asked me to talk. Oh, I wanted to hear it. I think we were very much on the topic of Golden Sun. Oh, and thank you for your suggestion to not judge other people's art perspective quite so harshly. Because you're right. Like, I want to talk about harshness too, because I had this huge realization. And there's a woman I met on set named Musa, and she really inspired me to be less harsh with myself and with other people. And I noticed this weird trauma I have around harshness, and I'm going to work on that today while I'm painting. Uh, but I guess we'll talk about harshness next week because, like you say, we're out of time. We're out of time. Let's talk about harshness next week. Remember it, Bob. All right, gang. If you have any questions or comments, either leave them below or message me on Instagram. That says Zoon_official on Instagram. And we'll be back next week. Remember, we do a card of the week at 8 a.m. New York time, and we do this show at 8:30 p.m. New York time. And you can figure out using Google whatever time that is where you live. And we hope to hear from you and see you. And remember, hit like and subscribe. What? I thought you were going to say, and remember, you can do it. You can do it. I believe in you. I believe in you. So, hey, hey, oh! All right. Catch you next time. Catch you next time. See you soon. Bye bye. Yeah, catch you later. All right, gang. Have a beautiful night.